Someone believed they could walk away from your heart without ever feeling the weight of what they had done. At the time, they were convinced the story was over. They believed your silence meant you had accepted everything. They believed your kindness meant you would simply forgive, forget, and disappear into the background of their life. But Spirit is saying something very different today. The energy around this reading shows that life has a way of revealing truths when people least expect them, not through punishment. Not through revenge, but through reflection. There comes a moment when every soul is asked to sit quietly with the choices it has made. And someone who once underestimated you has entered exactly that season. Welcome to this timeless reading. If this message has found you today, trust that there may be something here your soul was meant to hear. As always, this is a collective reading. Take what resonates with your heart and gently leave behind anything that doesn't belong to your journey. The energy surrounding you feels incredibly peaceful, not because your life has been easy. Not because people have always treated you fairly, but because you've learned something many people never do. You've learned that protecting your peace is more powerful than winning an argument. That lesson didn't come easily, it was earned. It came through disappointment, through unanswered questions, through moments when you gave your best to people who never appreciated it. The cards keep showing me someone who has spent much of their life trying to understand others. You naturally look for the good in people, even after they've made mistakes. Even after they've disappointed you, you search for reasons instead of immediately judging. You offer patience before criticism. You give chances before closing the door. That is one of your greatest strengths, but it has also been one of your greatest challenges, because not everyone recognizes genuine kindness. Some people mistake kindness for permission. Permission to take, permission to test your limits, permission to assume you'll always stay. Spirit wants you to hear this clearly. Your compassion was never your weakness. It was simply given to people who hadn't yet learned how to value it. There's someone coming through very strongly. This person didn't fully understand who you were while you were still present in their life. Perhaps they believed you'd always be available. Perhaps they thought you'd continue accepting behavior that slowly drained your spirit. Maybe they assumed that every time they crossed a boundary, you would quietly move it just a little further. They became comfortable, too comfortable. They forgot that even the gentlest soul eventually reaches a point where peace becomes more important than attachment. And when that moment arrived, everything changed. The cards don't show a dramatic ending. They don't show shouting. They don't show revenge. They show something much more powerful: silence, a peaceful decision, a quiet release. You simply stopped carrying what no longer belonged to you. You stopped explaining your worth to someone determined not to see it. You stopped chasing conversations that never brought clarity. You stopped fighting battles that were never yours to begin with. Spirit says this was one of the most important decisions you've made in recent years, because every time you chose yourself, your energy became stronger. Every time you honored your intuition, your confidence returned. Every time you walked away from disrespect, you made space for something healthier to eventually enter your life. Now here's where the energy becomes interesting. The person who believed your absence wouldn't matter has started noticing the silence. At first, they ignored it. They distracted themselves. They convinced themselves everything was fine, but silence has a remarkable way of becoming louder over time. Especially when someone realizes they've lost a person who genuinely cared. The cards keep showing memories returning unexpectedly. A place reminds them of you. A song appears at the wrong moment. Someone mentions something that brings your name into conversation. Little reminders begin appearing everywhere, not because you're trying to stay in their thoughts, but because the heart remembers what the mind tried to dismiss. Spirit says regret rarely arrives all at once. It grows quietly, one realization after another, one memory after another, one lonely evening after another, until eventually someone begins asking themselves questions they once avoided. What if I handled things differently? What if they were trying to love me the best they could? What if I pushed away someone who truly wanted the best for me? Those questions cannot be ignored forever. This reading isn't about celebrating another person's regret. That's important, because your soul isn't built that way. You don't find happiness in someone else's pain. Even after everything you've experienced, you still wish healing for people, you still hope they become better. That says everything about your character, but Spirit also reminds you. Compassion does not require reopening every closed door. Forgiveness does not require giving someone unlimited access to your heart. Sometimes forgiveness simply means releasing resentment while continuing to protect your peace. That is wisdom, not bitterness. There's another message coming through. Many of you listening have questioned yourselves recently. You wondered whether walking away was the right decision, whether perhaps you were too firm, too distant, too unwilling to compromise. Spirit gently smiles at those doubts, because the cards repeatedly say, you didn't leave because love disappeared, you left because respect disappeared. There's a difference. Love can survive disagreements. Love can survive misunderstandings. Love can survive difficult seasons, but relationships slowly crumble when respect is replaced by control. When honesty is replaced by manipulation, when appreciation is replaced by expectation, you sense that shift long before anyone admitted it. That's one of your spiritual gifts. You notice energy before you notice evidence. You feel changes before words are spoken. Sometimes you've doubted that gift because people called you too sensitive, but sensitivity isn't your weakness. It is one of the ways your intuition protects you. The cards continue showing a light surrounding your path. Almost as though your guides were quietly leading you away from something your heart wasn't yet ready to understand. At the time it felt painful, now it begins making sense. Because every ending created room for a better beginning, and Spirit wants you to know, this chapter isn't ending with loss, it's ending with freedom. The people who truly belong in your life will never require you to abandon your peace just to keep them there. The energy continues unfolding, and what Spirit wants to reveal next is something many of you have sensed, but perhaps never fully trusted. Someone is beginning to understand your value only after experiencing your absence. That realization didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a single dramatic moment. It arrived quietly. Life has a remarkable way of becoming a teacher when someone refuses to learn through love. The cards show this person moving through ordinary days that no longer feel ordinary. There are moments when they laugh with other people, yet something still feels missing. There are achievements that should make them happy, but the satisfaction doesn't last. There are conversations that feel empty because somewhere deep inside they remember how different it felt when you were there, not because you completed them. Spirit doesn't show dependency. Spirit shows appreciation arriving too late. There's a difference. Many people only recognize peace after they've replaced it with chaos. Many people only recognize loyalty after experiencing betrayal somewhere else. Many people only recognize sincerity after meeting people whose words carry no truth. This person has entered that season. They're beginning to compare every new connection with the one they lost. Not intentionally, it simply happens. Someone else speaks to them. And they remember your honesty. Someone else promises them something, and they remember how dependable you were. Someone else disappoints them. And suddenly they understand how much emotional safety your presence quietly provided. Spirit says they didn't fully appreciate what they had because they believed it would always remain available. Sometimes familiarity creates blindness. People stop noticing blessings they've become accustomed to, until one day, the blessing is gone. The cards now reveal something beautiful about your own journey. While someone else has been looking backward, you've been slowly moving forward. Perhaps it hasn't always felt that way. Healing rarely feels dramatic. Sometimes healing simply looks like waking up one morning and realizing you thought about them a little less than yesterday. Sometimes healing looks like smiling without forcing it. Sometimes healing is choosing yourself without feeling guilty. You've grown in ways you don't even recognize yet. Your confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the confidence of someone who no longer needs everyone to understand them. It's the confidence of someone who knows their worth doesn't decrease because another person failed to recognize it. Spirit applauds that growth because it wasn't easy. You earned every lesson. There's another message coming through very clearly. Please don't confuse someone's regret with their transformation. Those are two different things. A person can miss you without changing. A person can feel lonely without becoming accountable. A person can apologize without truly understanding why they hurt you. This reading isn't asking you to reopen doors simply because someone finally realizes what they lost. Instead, Spirit asks you one question: has their character changed? Or only their circumstances? That answer matters, because your future deserves wisdom, not repeated cycles. The cards also show something happening energetically around you. As old doors continue closing, new ones are quietly opening. There are healthier people entering your path, people who won't see your kindness as something to use. People who won't test your boundaries just to see how much you'll tolerate. People who will recognize your heart without requiring you to prove its value. Those connections feel different. They bring peace instead of confusion, consistency instead of uncertainty, respect instead of emotional games. Spirit says your soul has graduated from lessons that once exhausted you. Don't return to classrooms you've already passed. Trust the version of yourself you've become, the version that listens to intuition, the version that leaves when respect disappears. The version that no longer confuses struggle with love, because love was never meant to leave you constantly questioning your worth. Love was never meant to feel like earning basic kindness. Love was never meant to require abandoning yourself. The final cards are filled with light. They remind you that karma isn't always about punishment. Sometimes karma is simply awareness. It's the moment someone finally understands the value of what they carelessly released. It's the moment they realize that genuine people are rare, that loyalty cannot be replaced overnight. That authentic love isn't something you find everywhere. Whether this person reaches out or remains silent, their soul has already begun learning the lesson, and your soul. Your lesson was different. Your lesson was learning that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. So continue protecting your peace. Continue honoring your intuition. Continue walking toward the people who celebrate your presence instead of merely tolerating it. The universe has not removed people from your life to leave you empty. It has removed them to create space for something that finally matches your heart. If this message found you today, receive it as confirmation that your kindness has never been your weakness. Your boundaries are not walls, they are acts of self-love. And remember this: the people who truly belong in your life will never make you question whether you're enough. They will remind you every single day that you always were. May your path continue to be guided by peace, protected by wisdom, and filled with connections that honor the beautiful soul you have become. Until our next reading, trust the timing, trust your journey, and above all, trust yourself.